right, welcome to WASA Distance Education. This is MEL3E, grade 11 math for work and everyday life. I'm Pete, I'm your teacher, and welcome to our class, the second class of the new year. So we really just have 3 weeks, a little less than 3 weeks left in the semester. And we're certainly going to wrap up the lessons, so probably even this week. But we also have in Unit 4, we have a culminating activity. It's actually all part of all the units. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time going through that. So if you have a chance to get the culminating activity for MEL3E, you should take a look at it. And keep in mind, it's a pretty thick document. There's a lot to it, but we're going to go through it step by step. And that's what I want to make sure that you understand. Because, if you look at it and you go, wow, but we're going to go through it step by step. And a lot of the lessons in Unit 4, the one yesterday, the one today, are directly related to the culminating activity. So you can really kind of see where we're headed. Okay, so you get lots and lots of support to do that culminating activity. And really the idea behind it is worth 10% of the course. And the idea behind it is it should be a fairly achievable 10%, 9%, 8.5%, something like that. You should be able to do pretty well with this. What I'm looking for when I'm marking that culminating activity is your engagement with the course material, right? Did you learn what you're supposed to learn? Okay. So, and the other idea is that you can have fun with it. It shouldn't be a big ordeal. So yesterday we were looking at lesson 17, and that was how to use maps to find distances. And we spent a bit of time on Google Maps and kind of showed the strengths and weaknesses of Google Maps. And we did an activity where we were looking at a paper map which had a scale on it in one of the corners. And we worked out how to find distances using the scale. So I thought since the lesson we're doing today, we're going to do lesson 18, but I think it's a fairly short lesson. And it's a lesson where you will we'll sort of work on it together, and then it's done and you can hand it in. So it's similar to lesson 8, I think, in that sense. But I thought I'd spend a little bit of time going back and looking at this first, at this support question from lesson 17, because I just kind of left it, and there's a question I think quite similar to it in the key questions. So I just thought I'd go through how to do this type of question right here. So this is on page 23 of your Unit 4, and you'll need a plastic ruler, preferably a shorter ruler. The 15 centimeter rulers work pretty well. The 30 centimeter rulers, when you're using a sheet of paper, they jet out all over the place, and you could poke someone's eye out with them. So try and get the shorter ruler if you can. If you know a kid who's taken geometry in school and has one of those little geometry kits, there's probably a short little ruler in there. You borrow that from them. Okay, so we have here a ruler, and my ruler is gigantic right here. Matter of fact, maybe I could even make it a little smaller. It's got to be big enough that we can read the numbers. So yesterday I had a different ruler, and it was kind of hard to use. So I think I got a better one today. So the question that they asked us is, use the map provided. Let me get some. It says, using the map provided below, find the distance between each of the towns or cities. So that's going to say Pickering and Oshawa. That's A. So let's just go through that and work out how we would do that. One of the things that I pointed out yesterday was that it's really not a straight line. Okay? And if I just put my 0, this ruler has a very clear 0 on it. I'm going to put it right in the middle of what I'm trying to measure. And then I'm going to, oh, I see. Okay. Let's see. How do I, Okay, it's trying to pivot around a different point, and I don't really want to do that. All right, how can I do this? Uh, hmm. Okay. All right. See, basically it wants to pivot around, I think, this edge down. Oh, yeah. All right. All right. I'll put that away. Ah, this was working. I swear to you, this was working like just a minute ago. Hmm, it's definitely not working now. I don't know what I did. Uh, okay. Hmm. All right. Maybe I need to use the mouse on it or something. No. Okay. Well, my whole demonstration. Oh, there. Okay. I don't know what that is, but that's what I was trying to do. Okay. I'm just gonna use the mouse here because I can't seem to make it work on my with my fingers. So we have this ruler here, and I put the 0 under it, right on my first thing that I want to measure, and then oh, I see. Okay, now it's giving me the turn thing. And when I try and put it between Pickering and Oshawa, you see that the road that goes between Pickering and Oshawa, it's not a really good fit. Okay, so if we just took this measurement, we'd probably have a measurement that was too short by quite a bit. So, this is not the most accurate way to measure distances, but it's a lot more accurate if we try to make it into a series of straight lines. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is first I want to get rid of this red line here. See if I can get rid of that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into a series of lines here. Okay, you know what? I think I can only do this with the mouse for some reason. Okay, so if I go between Pickering and Ajax, you can see that that's a pretty straight line, right? So we're going to do that as one segment. And then if I go between, say, Ajax, and now I have to find some, I could go to Oshawa there and see there's a little bit above and a little bit below. That might work, or we could just go to maybe that bend right there. I don't know. Well, let's try Oshawa. So let's just do it in two segments then. Okay. So we'll do it in one segment where it's a Pickering to Ajax. Okay. And then we'll do it in another segment, Ajax to Oshawa, and that'll be more accurate than just kind of doing it all in one go. So now I have my 0 right in the middle of Pickering, and that's really important. You don't put the end of the ruler on the thing you're measuring. You put the 0 on there. And most rulers, the 0 is not right on the end. It's a little ways in. That's why having a clear ruler is helpful, because you can see through it and you can see what's under it. Okay. So now that's our 0, and now the measurement we want to make is right kind of between. Okay. Is kind of right between these two lines here. It's okay, I'm off a little bit. Okay. Now let's see. Yeah, there it is right there. So yet again, we're kind of midway between 2 millimeter marks, but that's okay. We'll just call it that. So let's just call this millimeters. So the ruler's in centimeters, but for every 1 centimeter, it's 10 millimeters. So we can call it. It looks like 10, 20, and then the little lines 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and it's 24.5 millimeters. Okay, and that's between Pickering and Ajax. Pickering and Ajax. Okay. So then I want to go in and, if I wanted to get really, really accurate, I could probably make a third measurement, but just to kind of get a good idea of what it is. We're going to put our 0 right on Ajax, right on the green dot I made before, and then I'm going to drag it down until it's right on line with Oshawa. And I think we'll be okay, because a little bit of the road goes above and a little bit goes below, and so the average should really be pretty close to the actual distance. So now I'm going to measure this. I have my 0 on Ajax. I'm going to look right in the middle of Oshawa, and yet again, it looks like it's between 2 millimeter marks. So it looks like 6 and it's not quite 7, so it looks like 69 and a half, 69.5 millimeters, and that's Ajax to Oshawa. Okay. Now, distance is a linear measurement, so we have no trouble just adding them up. Okay, and you can do that in a calculator if you want, no problem there. Our answer is going to be in millimeters, going to be 0, going to be 14, and it looks like 94.0 millimeters total, right? So if we somehow had a curvy ruler and we were able to go from Pickering to Oshawa, we'd probably get 94 millimeters. Okay, I'm gonna erase that. That doesn't. It's 94.0 millimeters. My handwriting's a little off here. Okay. So now that we have that, we still need to know what the ratio we're going to use is, the scale. So I'm going to take my ruler. Okay, I think I see my problem is that for some reason I can't move this with the finger on the smart board. That's interesting. I think that's the first thing I found that can't happen. All right, so I'm going to bring my ruler over here, and we want the kilometers for, we're in Canada, we use the metric system. So, the mile marker, if you did want to do this in miles, it would be this line right here. That would be 2 miles between the two green lines. But we want to use the metric system, and because that's what we use in Canada. So we'll just stick to the kilometers down below. Okay. So I'm going to set myself up a little ratio here. So it's going to be 5 kilometers. And then we'll find out how many millimeters this is on the ruler. It's 10, it's 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll call it 24 millimeters. Okay. So what this is saying to us is that the on the scale, on this, wow, sorry about that, 5 kilometers. What this is saying is that on this scale, 5 kilometers is proportional to 24 millimeters, and question mark, which is the distance between Pickering and Ottawa, is proportional to what? It's proportional to the 94 millimeters that we worked out. 94 millimeters. Okay. Because now we have everything we need to figure out question mark. Now you could call it X, right? If you wanted to, you could call it PO for Pickering to Oshawa. You could call it anything you want. Okay, that's the thing about algebra. There are lots of conventions, lots of habits that we use, but no one's the boss of algebra, right? So, we just do it the best we can. We do what makes sense to us. So now we can solve this, and to solve it, the book shows you this cross multiplication, but what I showed you yesterday is that basically, if you want to get rid of this denominator, you just move it up over here to the numerator on the other side. You multiply the numerator of the left side by the denominator of the right side, and then that solves the equation. Okay. So now, unfortunately, I'm out of room here, so I'm just going to finish this just over here. So now we have 94.0 millimeters, okay, times 5 kilometers divided by 24 millimeters. These are all ratios, but they all have units on them, so it kind of helps us to figure out what the final units are going to be. And the reason for that is that this millimeters and that millimeters cancel each other out. Okay. Now, if you're wondering why I don't simplify this fraction, because the 24 and the 94, I'm sure I could reduce the fraction a little bit. It's just because we're using a calculator, we don't have to, right? I know that in school, we spent a lot of time learning how to simplify fractions and find common denominators and stuff like that. But really, if we're using a calculator, all that stuff is really unnecessary. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right, so we're going to take, so 94 times 5, so it's 94 times 5 divided by 24. And so our answer for question mark then is 19 point, and now we'll just call it 5. Actually, I should call it 6. Let me just, here, I'm just going to cross that out. 19.6. And our units, the only units we had left was kilometers. And that makes sense because that's what we were trying to work out anyway. Um, question mark, right? So the answer then, and I've really used up an awful lot of this question. So the distance between Mississauga and, oh, no, the distance between, what were we doing? Oakville, I'm looking on the wrong page here. Uh, okay. Okay. So the distance between Pickering and Oshawa, uh, between is, whoa, that was not, that was really quite bad. 19.6 kilometers. There you go. Okay. So that's how you do that sort of question. And I think you may, I don't know if you can recycle any of those measurements, any of the segments, but if you could, then of course you can just keep some of these because we know we made this little chart up top here, right? So we have some of those distances already if we needed them. Okay. Now, obviously, looking stuff up on Google Maps is faster. Can be faster. Depends. Depends on your internet, I guess. But this is a pretty common way of doing it if you don't have quick internet access. Okay. And we spent a little bit of time to get it all precise and right and everything. And once you've done this for a little while, it's pretty fast. You just plunk your roller down and or you could even, some people will say they'll put their thumb on the scale and try and see if it's about the width of their thumb or the width of the first segment of their finger, and then they'll just kind of lay that finger along, right? So the equivalent that I can do on my board here would be to take a little, oops. So yeah, so the equivalent on my board here would be to take a little line segment and say, all right, that's about 5 kilometers right there, right? So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to say, all right, well, let's see, from Pickering here to, of course, I picked the wrong color, but from Pickering to, oops, all right. All right, now I'm learning that for some reason the smartboard is not letting me rotate stuff. Um, Yeah, it's really not letting me rotate stuff. Okay, now that sort of moved a little bit, but basically, I think maybe you'll get the idea is that you take your line that represents 5 centimeters, 5 kilometers, and you just kind of move it along there. That's what I'm trying to show you. Okay, I don't know this. Okay, so that is a little bit on how to do that type of question. All right. Now, if you had any questions, okay, I'm always available. You can reach me in the office in the afternoon at the WASA number, 2220, I think is my extension, and or PW WASA on Facebook, and of course pwisbianski at nnec.on.ca. All right, so there's lots of ways to get some help, and I'm always happy to kind of help you out with any questions. Don't worry about asking questions. This is exactly how we learn math. Exactly. Okay. Asking questions and answering questions. Okay. So we got this. Let's just go on to lesson 18. Now, lesson 18 is planning a trip, and as I said in the intro here, when you are when you're doing your culminating activity, this is a major part of what your culminating activity is. Okay, the scenario in your culminating activity is you're forming a band, okay, and you're going to go off and you're going to sell tickets, right? And you're going to travel. You're going to have shows in different places, some of them in the United States, some of them in Canada. You're going to drive around, okay? You make things easier on yourself. Plan to start in in a city that you're familiar with, and then you're going to drive around. And you're going to plan this trip, you see. So that's what the culminating activity is. Now, if you didn't want it to be a band, maybe it could be, you could have a comedy troupe if you want to do that, or you could have something else, but something where you'd have to sell tickets and have shows, right? An acrobatic dancing, right? You'd have some square dancing or something like that. That's fine. There's lots of stuff you could do. So as you're looking through that culminating activity, if it's not quite what you would like to do, just send me a little email and let me know, and I'll just to make sure that it's equivalent, right? And that's all. Make sure that you're doing something that's similar enough that I can that I can mark it the same way as I mark everyone else's. So this lesson 18 then is pretty much what very similar to what you're going to do. All right. Oops. Okay. So you'll notice that there's really no lesson to it. We just hop right into the key question. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Okay. It says, imagine you're planning a driving vacation from Sioux Lookout to Calgary with your family next summer. Okay. Use the internet to plan your route there. Okay. Make at least one overnight stop on the way. So, I don't know. I guess some people do that. If you're going to drive to Calgary, and they will drive for however many hours, 23 hours straight, or maybe they will have different people drive. What we're seeing is that you can have an overnight stop. It's prudent anyway to do that. You get tired, right? And then and then it's probably good. And then everyone can have a shower. It depends on how many people are in the car. So it's but we want at least one overnight stop just to kind of think about the logistics of that and the cost of that and stuff like that. Okay, so one overnight stop on the way there and one on the way back. And then you have to decide, do you want to stop in the same place both ways, or do you want to try different places, right? And that's something to think about. If you're like me, if you find a place that you like, you probably want to stop there again. But a lot of people are adventurous and they want to say, no, I don't want to see the same hotel again. I want to try a different hotel. I want to try a different city, right? Or maybe you're going to stay with relatives, okay? So, and that's, that could be it, right? You want to stay with your auntie or something like that, your cookum. All right, you can say that you're doing that. I don't mind. Now you're gonna, here's the thing, and this is pretty much identical to what the culminating activity is going to be. It's just that you're not going to Calgary, you're going to wherever you pick. Name the main communities along the route, okay? And then use Google Maps to find the distances and driving times. Round the number of traveling hours between communities to the nearest 1/4 of an hour. This is important. The first day has been done for you, and then we're given marks for this. But again, remember that my point of marking something like this is not to go and double check and exactly how long it takes to go between places. My point is, did you show that you know how to plan a trip, right? That's really what we're marking here. Okay. So, for example, this is one where we're going from Sioux Lookout. So they're doing the first day here. Now, this form here may be a little confusing, but we'll work through it. Okay. So from Sioux Lookout to Denoric. Denoric is a little community where you're just before you turn onto the Trans-Canada, you go down Highway 72, and then there's a little kind of a tourist hut there with some gas, and that's the Norwick. That's the whole thing right there. Okay, so they're saying 65 kilometers, they're saying 3/4 of an hour. Okay. And then from the Norwick to Winnipeg, okay, so they're telling us that it's 379 kilometers, it takes 4 hours, and then from Winnipeg to Brandon, Manitoba. Okay, so that's a fair bit of driving right there. They're saying it's 659 kilometers, and it's 7.25 hours. Okay, so let's have a look here, see what they're asking us to do. So that's the first day. Okay, so we have to finish this one off here. Okay, now we need to so we're going to start in Brandon, Manitoba. And then we're going to see how far we can get. So 7.25 hours is a pretty good distance, and it depends too if you're traveling just by you, a couple of you in the car, adults, you can probably drive for quite a bit of time. If you got little kitties or pets in the car, you probably really can't put so many hours in because the kitties have to get out and the animals have to get out. And then some people just can't drive for long distances. I'm one of them, and so 7 hours is pretty good for me. 7.5 for a day. So you have to know yourself too, because if you try and drive longer than that, it gets dangerous. If you're not good at driving at night, then it's probably not wise to do it. And just because someone else does it, doesn't mean we have to, right? So Brandon, Manitoba, we're going to go to, we're trying to get all the way to Calgary. So let's go on to Google Maps and see what we can do. We'll go on to Google Maps and find Brandon, Manitoba. Okay, unfortunately I don't know much about Manitoba past Winnipeg, so we're going to be a good learning experience here. Okay, so we need maps. And there's Google Maps. Okay, and it's given us Sioux Lookout because I think it shows you where you are. And we're going to go Brandon. And we want to make sure it's MB Manitoba because there's probably all sorts of Brandons. Okay, and I'm not that familiar with the area, so I got to make sure I get the one in Manitoba. So there's Brandon, but now we got to zoom out. And you can click the minus button or you just use your scroll wheel on your mouse. Okay. So there's Brandon and there's Calgary. Well, let's try just seeing how long it's going to take to drive to Calgary from Brandon. That's not Manitoba, that's Alberta, AB. And again, we want to be careful that we enter the right province in because who knows, maybe there's a Calgary, Manitoba, you'd end up in the wrong spot. Now this says 12 hours and 21 minutes. So the question you have to ask is, do you want to drive for 12 hours and 21 minutes? Right? And that would be up to you to write that, to decide what you're going to do with your trip. We're going to click on driving here, and then it's going to get rid of some of those. Now notice it's given us alternate routes here. Giving us alternate routes. Sorry about that. This one, it likes the one that goes through Medicine Hat, or the one that goes through Regina, or we could go up and we could take this other one. Some of them, they're a little longer, but if you look at it, the short one's 12 hours. This longer one, if you're having a trip and it's a fun thing, maybe go on the scenic route. Going the scenic route would be the way to go, right? So this is where you ask someone. You ask someone who's been there before. Say, hey, you drove out to Calgary. Which way would you recommend? And just find out. Or which way did you go and why? Somebody says, yeah, I like transport trucks, so I took this southern route. All right, but let's see if we can. Maybe let's try adding Medicine Hat here. Okay, and this is Alberta. Okay, and I gotta have to Okay. So Brandon, Medicine Hat, and I'm going to drag Alberta, Calgary down. So we're starting in Brandon. Okay. So I think we have it now. And yeah. Okay. So there's our route. So it's still the 12 hours and 40 minutes, but the nice thing is that if we check our directions, details here, we'll see that our trip to uh, from Brandon to Medicine Hat is 9 hours and 20 minutes. So that's actually pretty good, 826 kilometers. So I think I'm going to use that in mine. So that's so it's Brandon, and then it's going to be Medicine Hat. Oops, Medicine Hat. Okay. So, and of course we don't put any distance the first day. And so, boy, now I gotta go back and take a look at this here. So it was 8:26, 9 hours and 20 minutes. So it was 8:26, 9 hours and 20 minutes. Now, they said to the nearest quarter hour. So that's going to be 9 1/4 hours. Okay, 20 minutes. If you round it and if you sort of look at it, it's 10 more minutes to 9:30, 9 hours and 30 minutes, but it's only 5 minutes back to 9 1/4. So 9 1/4, we'll round it. You could round it up if you want. Might be prudent to round it up if you don't want to run short on time. So there we go. So that's our first leg of the trip, and then we're gonna go. Uh, Medicine Hat to Calgary. So knowing the distance of each leg and how long it'll take you to drive can help you in your planning. You could decide that everyone's tired, right? Maybe that's it. Maybe you drive into Medicine Hat and you see some giant pickle, or I don't know what they sell, giant pierogies. I'm not really sure what they sell out there. And I'm thinking about the reason I'm thinking about a giant pierogi, giant pickle, giant hot dog, whatever, is that in southern Ontario, to me anyway, the most fun thing, the only real fun thing along that um, highway between Toronto and Ottawa is this thing. It's a giant apple. It's a gigantic apple. It's the biggest freestanding apple in the world, I think, is what they call it. And you go there and they sell apple pies. They're really good. So, but that's, and they have rabbits running around. So, yeah, it's just a nice little place. So sometimes you want to stop someplace, you got to factor that into your trip, right? I was driving someplace years ago, and it said, cave, right? You come tour our caves. And I would have loved to do that, but I realized I hadn't left myself any free time. So I just had to keep driving. I was really sad about that. All right, let's get back to Calgary and see. So from Medicine Hat to Calgary, if you have these driving directions, it actually tells you that's 3 hours and 20 minutes, 295 kilometers. 295, 320. So 295 kilometers, 3 hours and again 20 minutes. Now notice we've rounded 10 minutes off of that already. So, we might want to keep that in mind. Okay, so there you go. So we managed to get this worked out in 2 days, but that's an awfully long drive. Now you could add up all those kilometers. Yeah, you could add everything up here. So this is going to be 12 hours and 12 hours and 12 and a half hours. Okay, and then we just add these 826 and 295. Let's see. 11. So that's 12, 8, I think 11, 21 kilometers. Okay, probably want to use a calculator to do that calculation anyway. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna write my 1121 a little better. So that's pretty much it, and that's end of second day. Actually, I probably should have end of. Okay, you see what I'm saying about this table? That really, like, whoa. Okay, I didn't mean to do that for sure. Okay, let's try that again. All right, well, oh, look at that. Yeah, so the table, you probably don't really need that extra line there because you could just put it in, could have put it the way I had it. So now you know, and then what you could do is you could sort of have a summary, summary, whoops, or total, and you could actually have your total miles and your total hours. Something that you would know, having the total miles is going to help you work out how much it's going to cost you, because the cost of gas to drive places isn't really free, right? It can be quite expensive. And okay, so this table is kind of moved on to the next page. Okay. So now for part 2, you would just calculate, you just work the return trip from Calgary, and now they kind of show it here where they want you to go back through Brooks, Alberta. So let's go take a look at the map again and see where that is. So they're kind of asking you to take a slightly different route. So I don't really know where. All right, so we'll start with Calgary. We'll just move us to the top, and now you can actually just kind of remove some of this Brooks. Is it Brooks? Brooks. AB. Okay, so there's Brooks, Alberta. So we're going to go through there, and maybe there's something in Brooks. Maybe maybe you have someone you know there. Maybe there's a giant. Well, maybe that's where the giant pierogi is, right? Giant moose. Yeah, there's got to be something good out there, something that get the whole family interested, right? Okay. So so you'd work out that distance, and I think they may have already given that to us. Yeah. All right. They said 186. Now that's kind of interesting. What do we have? 189. Probably moved a little bit. So you'd fill that out, and you take your couple of days to get back, right? So far so good. Okay. Now here's what they want you to do, and this is right at the bottom of the page. So let me kind of calculate the total number of kilometers from Sioux Lookout to Calgary, and back. Ooh. From Sioux Lookout to Calgary and back. So that's really important. Okay. So we have it actually already. I've sort of worked it out. You can borrow this if this is good for you. You can borrow that one and then just do the second one. So we know that it's the total for the first day is just the sum of these two numbers, the 659 and the 1121. So our summary for our first day is 659 plus 1121. So it's a total is 1780 km. Okay, that's for day 1, and you'd probably have something somewhere on your way back. Okay, but work it out, because you may have a slightly different route, and then you're going to have a slightly just different kilometer. So doubling it may not work. If you're going to take the same route back, it will, but it might not work if you're taking a different route or if you're making stops. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to have a number, and the reason for that is for this next question, you're going to be asked to figure out how much gas you're going to use. Okay. Now, if you forget how to do the fuel consumption, you can go back and look at vehicle costs, which is I it's either less than 16 or less than 15. It's one of those. You go back and look at that. It shows you how to do it. I'm going to show you using just the number that I just calculated. Okay, so calculate the amount you would expect to spend on gasoline traveling to Calgary and back. Okay, so I'm going to do it just to Calgary. Okay, and you're gonna actually do it in both directions. It's just one calculation. Okay, so I'm gonna do the calculation exactly the way you would do it, but it's you'll have a bigger number because you've got more fuel. So we are using it's 1780 kilometers. Now there's a little complication here that a lot of students kind of get this sort of have they try to use the consumption rate directly to along with the distance, okay, because it looks good, right? You just multiply 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers by 1780 and you get some number that looks good, right? But that's not correct because it's a two-step process. The first step is how much fuel and then the second step is how much does it cost. Okay, so our first answer is going to be in liters and our second answer, whoops, is going to be in dollars. Okay, whoa, that's okay, that's a terrible looking dollar sign. Anyway, you get the idea. Now remember, we're using capital L for liters, and if it's been a while since you've been in school, you may be confused by that because I'm pretty sure that at one time we used little l, and indeed we did for a long time. And I don't know exactly when that changed, not too long ago. But basically, the metric system decided that the people that kind of tell us how to write metric letters and numbers and distances and stuff and amounts decided that using capital L is a little more accurate than using a little l because it was getting confused with the number 1. Okay, so we're using capital L for liters. Okay, so you're not imagining things. At one time we did use a little l for liters. So all right, let's work this out then. So if we use this amount of fuel to go just to Calgary, how much fuel are we going to use? We're using, we got to use this fuel consumption rate. That's what we're doing. How much fuel? Okay. So it's 1780 kilometers. Now I'm going to show you the way I do it, which is a little different than the book does it. Times 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. In this case, per means divided by. And if this seems a little confusing, how we're going to do that, just sort of keep in mind that we can write every whole number as a fraction over 1. And when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply the numerators, we multiply the denominators. Okay? So what this really means, you could rewrite this if you want to be 780 kilometers times 9.7 liters divided, because 1 times 100 kilometers is just 100 kilometers. Okay, and it's not strictly necessary, but you can see now that the kilometers cancel out, and our answer is going to be in liters, which is exactly what we want, because our first question is how much fuel, and we want an answer in liters. So we're on the right track here. So now we're just going to do a little calculator exercise. 1780 times 9.7 liters. Okay, and then just divided by 100. Okay, and 172.7, I'm just going to round it off, liters. Okay, so we're going to use 172.7 liters of fuel. Just now in my calculation, this is the one-way fuel. You're going to do the same calculation in exactly the same way, but the difference is that this number is going to represent your entire trip, not just half of it. Okay? But you can use the same calculation and the same steps. Well, that's great. Now we know how much fuel we're going to use. Does that surprise you? It's 173 liters of fuel. Okay. It's a lot of fuel, isn't it? It's a lot of stops along the way to fill up, right? And you could actually work out how many fill-ups you're going to need if you know the fuel capacity of your vehicle, right? If you have some jerry cans, right, are you going to fill those up, right? So, yeah. All right, so the next thing now is to work out how much it's going to cost. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to kind of go down here a little bit. So to work out how much it costs, we have the amount and we have the rate right here. It's $1.09 per liter, which is actually pretty accurate. Now, it's funny because in the fall when I was going through this, that seemed like wishful thinking. It was pretty low. And now I understand that's probably even high for out west. So we're going to work out, use this big amount here, $1.09 per liter. So it's 170, whoa, let me see if I can write better. 172.7 liters times $1.09 per liter. Okay, per 1 liter. Okay, so that's the way it works. Okay, and remember that we're doing exactly the same thing we did before with this multiplication. So it's 172.7 liters times, I'm just going to get rid of the multiplication sign. We use the algebra notation, just both two parentheses, over 1 liter. Okay, the liters cancel each other out, and we have 172.7 times 109. Oh, this is dollars, which makes sense because our final amount should be in dollars. So 172.7 times $1.09, and we don't have to divide it by anything, is $188.20, 24 cents, call it. There you go. So that's how much you would spend on gas to get out there, just to get out there, double that coming back if you're going to come back. Okay, so now that helps you out, right? It helps you out because you know that just for fuel alone, when you want to take this trip, you're going to need what, 300? Okay, just for fuel alone, you're going to need about $400 in your pocket, just for fuel. Okay, no meals, no hotels, right? No tourist attractions, nothing like that. And that's just to get from Sioux Lookout to there and back. Okay, so that helps you plan your trip, right? Because you don't get out there and find that no one has any money in their pockets. Because if you don't have your $400 for fuel, probably not going to go, right? If you don't have your money for a hotel, or you don't have a cookum that's waiting for you and going to let you stay, right, you probably won't go. Okay? And that's the sort of thing that we're trying to kind of show you here with this material. It's not to say, you want to be, don't want to discourage you from traveling. I just want you to know how much it's going to cost you, so that when you go, you got lots of money in your pocket to pay for the trip. Okay. Now the next part is that sort of thing. It's along those lines. Whoops. And we kind of blasted right through it here. It's part B here, because part B is an important part of this. So let's read it, and remember that I wasn't solving part B, I was still solving part A with this calculation below. It says you wish to take a trip to okay, all I have to do is talk, and I'm having trouble with that. Sorry about that. Okay, let me try that again. You wish to take a trip to Drumheller to see the dinosaur fossils at the Royal Tyrrell Museum. Lovely. Use the internet to find the distance traveled from Calgary to Drumheller. Okay, and return. Calculate the amount of gas you would use if the cost of gas in Alberta is this amount. Now, they haven't given you the fuel rating, so we're just going to use the one that we had in the previous question, because it's probably mostly highway driving anyway. Okay, so we're going to do part B down below here. I'm sorry I'm getting it, sort of getting it a little bit out. And I think I'll probably just get started on Part B. We'll pick this up tomorrow, so we won't worry too much about that. Because now you can imagine that if you're going to Calgary, right, and you're going to go to Calgary, and then everyone's going to say, are you going to Drumheller? Are you going to go see the fossils, right? And of course you're going to say yes, 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 yes. But let's find out how much that's going to cost you. Okay, so we can do this here. We got Calgary, and then we're going to go to Drumheller, AB. You could say Royal Tyrrell Museum. It's possible to do that. So here we go, and we don't really know where we are in Calgary. So this would be more accurate if you had, if you had an exact address in Calgary. But it's just giving us a sort of an estimate here from the middle of Calgary out to Drumheller, and it's telling us it's 138 kilometers, 1 hour and 42 minutes. So 138 kilometers. Let's go back and write that down. Okay, so 138 kilometers. All right, I'm having my problems here. So it's 138 kilometers. That's Calgary to Drumheller. However, they want us to know there and back, right? So let's take that 138 number, and probably the easiest thing, multiply that by 2, and it's 276 kilometers return. Okay. So, all right, so it's 276 kilometers. Well, how much is that going to cost us? Well, remember the two-step process to find out how much gas costs us. Step 1, we need to know how much fuel, and then steps 2, we need to know the cost of fuel. So our fuel consumption is going to be 97 liters per 100 kilometers. So it's 276 kilometers times 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers equals, and then we can just, I hope that what you can see now is that what I need to do here, I could rewrite it the way I did it the first time, but basically we multiply these two numbers together and then we divide by 100 is the way we do it. Okay. Now, if you look at the way the book does it, what they do is they do the 9.7 divided by 100 first. So they turn the fuel into a unit consumption rate and then multiply by the distance. It works out to be the same thing. It's just one extra step. That's all I'm saying. So you can do it the way the book shows. It's fine. It's just they add one extra step. So it's 276 times 9.7 divided by 100. Okay, and it'll give you exactly the same answer. So it's 26.8, and our answer is in liters. Because we were working out how many liters, and I forgot a unit here, so sorry about that. 26.8 liters, that's to go there and back. And now that's step 1, and step 2 is the cost. Now they've given us a different price. They've given us 93.7 cents. Be careful about that because it's 26.8 liters times. Now let's not get burnt on this. They've given us cents per liter. Let's convert it to dollars per liter. Divide by 100, 93.7, and that's dollars per liter. Okay. $0.937 per liter times 0.937, and what we get here is it's $25 and looks like 9 cents. Okay, $24 and that's return. So that's not so bad, but just keep in mind that that's how much it costs to get there and back. And you haven't even paid for admission. You haven't bought anyone a plush dinosaur, right? You haven't taken the tour, right? You haven't had lunch out there. So now you know how much it's just going to cost you to drive there and back. Well, we'll leave it there for today. We still have a bit more to do here, so we'll pick this up tomorrow. So don't worry, but try and work out some of this on your own. And if you have any questions, yeah, you're certainly welcome to phone in and let me know. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.